Hey, all is well. That's Navajo. You'll find out why. Starting out with an ancient Celtic story, way ancient. Mostly the people in the British Isles have lost track of their ancient, true mythical history. And this one is also has the Navajos related to it, surprisingly. I'll give it a tiny explanation. In the myth, Morrigan is the great queen mother, and her firstborn son we know as the Dagda. That is from the word Dapos in the Celtic, good, and Gia in English, good God. And he sires each of her following sons. For him, Angus and Okma and Lug. And in those, she is Boan, the good mother of each of her sons that Dagda is the sire of. The people in Arizona, known by the Spanish name Navajo, like that, are actually shown by their language, the roots of their language is from Western Turkestan. Their ancestors are from Coyote, and they are certainly inheritors of an ancient Celtic people, the Tokari. And the name for them there, because they still live there, is Noctine. The people in Arizona likewise know themselves as the Noctine. It is the same word, though sounds differently, as the legendary ancestors of the Irish, the Tudadan. Both means the people. That's what it is. Now the people that are here in Arizona, because they actually have the lore of how they went back abroad and brought over Bridget. And Bridget becomes known here as Athanaile, changing woman. And then to really knock it off like that, the Ogma of the Irish in the Navajo, I'm trying to say, is Bigoshaji. That's an Irish word, Bigoshaji, meaning living sheep. Gigi means the individual sheep. That's an Irish word, and that's in the Navajo. Dagda in the Navajo is Gipichi, meaning our maternal or ceremonial grandfather. So that's to bring in the Navajo aspect. All of the ancient Celtic pantheon apparently exists in the Navajo lore. This story, it's the eve, what we call Sabin. Sabin means the end of summer. That's what, just outright what it means. But we did have a very pointed point there and say the eve of this at this time. And at this time, we're saying that it is totally dark. This is my painting to go with this. And also, you'll see, this is a comb, which the story introduces, a comb. That this is from West Africa. It is a very, very ancient symbol of the feminine, of the goddess or the great mother. And was so, it's on one of our album covers that Tim had made that shows a comb that's an actual artifact from the thousands of years ago of the Celts. So that's going to introduce that, and all of this is, and the story is titled The Terrible Young Woman with All the Hair. So back to the story. It's a dark night. It's a very, very dark night. And here's this fellow we're calling the Dagda. And over here is this terrible young woman. And they're walking in the dark, and wouldn't you know it, they'd run into each other. And that collision in the dark caused this woman to suddenly sprout her hair. And her hair sprouted up into the sky. Up into the sky, totally filling the sky, clouding the sky. And it didn't just stay there, but it started falling down in huge oodles. And the Dagda was finding, I'm going to be suffocated with all of this hair. Now, he is a magician, so he's got to come up with something. Well, of course, what do you do with hair? A comb, of course, a comb. So he conjures up this big comb. But how am I going to comb all this hair? He's not shy on that. A wheel. He conjures up a big wheel. And he manages to have this comb put on this wheel. And then he pulls out his magic harp and he begins to, as he begins to play his harp, this wheel begins to move. and the teeth of the comb begin to move, rolling back and forth this giant wheel. The comb, its teeth, boom, 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 beginning to comb those wild, woolly tresses. Goes on and on. Eventually, after a while, those wild, woolly tresses begin to calm down. They get quieter and quieter. And finally, peace from hair has come about. And she says, "Oh, my dear fiddly fine, you are the greatest poet alive." So he is so bequeathed. But that's not the end of it. You know what happened with that big wheel rolling back and forth over the land? It made a big crease in the land. And guess what? Everything and everybody that ever lived and died dead forever was down there. And with that big crease opening up, all they come up all they came. And they took over the world. And now you'll know who they are when they knock on your door come this Wednesday night. And they say, trick or treat. There we go. Thank you very much.